Good day and welcome to Alena TV. We are broadcasting from Toronto, Canada. I am Elsa Abraham. In today's episode, we have African news. Now let's go for our headlines. Ethiopian Senate votes to sever all relations with Tigray's parliament. Kenya staring at another wave of low-cost invasion. Eritrean leader arrives in Ethiopia to boost ties. And in our last story, 8 African migrants dead, several injured off the Horn of Africa in Djibouti. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, it's our news in details. Welcome back from that short break. Ethiopian Senate votes to sever all relations with Tigray's parliament. Ethnic tensions in Ethiopia continue to mount after the Ethiopian Senate voted on Tuesday to sever all relations between the federal authorities and both the Tigray Regional Parliament and Executive. This comes after the Tigrayan leaders chose to unilaterally hold elections initially scheduled for August last month in defiance of the decision made back in March by the Federal Parliament Electoral Commission to postpone national elections and extend office terms of both regional and national deputies beyond their initial October end in light of COVID-19 pandemic. This vote further widens the gap between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who described the Tigrayan regional elections as illegal and illegitimate, and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, which has dominated Ethiopian politics for nearly 30 years. Nevertheless, the federal government will continue to work with local institutions in northern Tigray to ensure that essential services remain available to the people of the region. The TPLF led the armed struggle against the communist regime until the latter's fall in 1991, and then led the ruling coalition for over 25 years. It officially moved into opposition in 2019 when it refused to accept Abiy's initiative to merge the coalition into a single party, the Prosperity Party. Sidelined by the government of Abiy Ahmed, the TPLF remains in control in its stronghold in Tigray, northern Ethiopia, whose population amounts to about 6% of the entire country, 110 million people. The party won 189 of the 190 seats in the mountainous region bordering Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Sudan. In 2019, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate Abiy Ahmed reiterated that the Tigrayan elections had no legitimacy while ruling out any idea of military interventions or budget cuts. The Tigrayan leaders, for their part, felt that the future decisions taken by the federal government would not be implemented in their region. Moving on to our next story for today, Kenya staring at another wave of locust invasion. Kenya is staring at another wave of desert locust invasion as fresh swarms migrate to northern Kenya from Somalia, Ethiopia, and Eritrea. United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has warned that the swarms could be entering Kenya just a few months after it had alluded that the country is almost winning the war against the plague. Kenya is just recovering from the worst infections in 70 years and the worst outbreak in 25 years for neighboring countries of Somalia and Ethiopia. But FAO's latest report, dated October 5th, says wind-blowing swarm migration from Yemen could again plague Ethiopia, Somalia in October and extend to Kenya in November. The fast-moving insects were first sighted in Wajir County and later in Mandera, Marsabit, Garissa, Isiolo, Samburu, Meru, and Laikipia. They later spread to close to 29 countries in Kenya, where they left a trail of destruction. As winds from the north become established over the Horn of Africa, there will be an increased threat of swarm migration from Yemen, northeast Ethiopia, and northern Somalia, south to eastern Ethiopia and central Somalia in October, and that could extend to northern Kenya in November, the FAO report noted. Locusts can travel about 90 miles a day and eat their own body weight in crops, thus making them fast-moving, especially during heavy winds. Though ground and aerial controls continue in the Horn of Africa and Yemen, FAO says the situation is worrying and could deteriorate during October because of recent breeding. The report shows that there is substantial hatching and hopper band of formation, which has caused numerous immature swarms to form in the northeastern Ethiopia. An increasing number of swarms has been reported in northern Somalia, including cross-border movements between northwest Somalia and eastern Ethiopia, said the report. Invasion of the pest disrupted grazing patterns and nomadism in northern Kenya, prompting acute hunger and other unprecedented effects to the communities living in the region. When the voracious pest landed, they destroyed crops and grazing vegetation covers in pastoralism areas. In Samburu, disaster management teams have spread about 1,000 acres of the land in Samburu West, where the survivors of the pest had infested. Samburu County Special Programs Chief Officer Daniel told the nation that they have killed 3 swarms that crossed over from Tekano. There are very few survivors remaining, and we still doing aerial surveillance across the country, and we have aircraft for aerial spray in case we spot swarms, he said. He noted that invasion of desert locusts has left a trail of destruction in Samburu, particularly worsening food insecurity by destroying pastures for livestock in parts of the county that were hard hit by the invasion. Samburu communities will be food insecure due to the damage caused by the locusts on food as well as pastures for livestock. Climate change has played a major role in creating a conducive environment for desert locusts to breed and thrive. For instance, in the last 12 months, Samburu experienced above average rains and floods, making the sandy soil to become unusually moist. These conditions tend to be perfect for female locusts to lay eggs and breed. Mr. Lesego noted that most swarms that are spotted in the region are about to mature and could start breeding if torrential rains are witnessed in the coming weeks. He said disaster management teams are on high alert and are monitoring the situation on the ground should they record a new wave of invasion. FAO estimates that up to 20 million people living in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia could be affected by food insecurity posed by the swarms, whose numbers are projected to increase amid ongoing breeding in the Horn of Africa. African migrants, 8 African migrants dead, several injured off the Horn of Africa, Djibouti. Staff from the International Organization for Migration today assisted Djiboutian authorities as they attended to the grim task of recovering and burying 8 drowning victims whose remains are washed ashore after a lethal journey from Yemen over the weekend. The victims, from a total of 34, mainly Ethiopian and Somali migrants seeking to return to Africa after attempting to find work in the Arabian Gulf. Make even more tragic a recent wave of Africans arriving in Djibouti. It was at night and the smugglers turned off all the lights on the boat, claiming we were being followed, the Coast Guard. But they were lying. 19-year-old survivor Haji Wocho from Oromo Ethiopia, told IOM there was no coast guard. They started hitting us with sticks and iron bars. Mr. Haj Wacho said he was in the water for nearly 2 hours, struggling to make out the coastline ahead. I could not see anything, he recalled. It was pitch black. I did not know whether it was dead or alive. He and 25 others, some of whom survived injuries today, are receiving medical treatment at IOM's Migrant Response Center in Obok. While thousands of African migrants remain stranded in Yemen, authorities fear some of those may be waiting for a chance to recross the dangerous waters, mainly already braved to get to the Arabian Gulf just months ago. Thus, the prospect grows of more fatalities in the coming weeks, said Stephanie Daviot, the chief of mission of the IOM in Djibouti. This tragedy is a wake-up call. Migrants are arriving in Djibouti in large numbers from Yemen. Regional governments and the international community must come together to address the situation of dangerous journeys facing migrants in the region since the outbreak of COVID-19. Migrants who are unable to move forward in their journey and with no means to return home. She added, risking their lives facing exploitation from smugglers and, in the instance, very tragically, death and injury. These migrants ran a gauntlet that makes a mockery of respecting migrants, human rights and dignity. IOM is concerned that there could be further drownings. The tragedy follows the arrival of some 2,678 migrants from Yemen into Djibouti since July, according to the IOM data. Say others who have arrived here in recent weeks. Most are trying to return to Ethiopia and other nations after having failed to reach the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia despite managing to leave Africa for Yemen. Due to COVID-19 related border closures and the extreme danger facing migrants in the Gulf states, many have given up on their hope of finding jobs and opportunities in the kingdom. IOM Djibouti has been providing emergency medical care, food, water and tents and counseling on COVID-19 awareness and prevention measures to those arriving in Obok. Moreover, IOM has assisted an estimated 1,239 migrants who already had been stranded in Djibouti for months. Meanwhile, across Djibouti's border in Ethiopia, IOM has been assisting returnees with food, water, clothing, and other essentials they need for their journey home. In August, IOM launched a $84 million appeal regional migrant response plan for the Horn of Africa and Yemen to respond to the needs of migrants in the Horn of Africa and Yemen taking such journeys and to help an estimated 14,000 migrants currently stranded in Yemen. Many want to go home and rely on smugglers to do so for lack of alternatives. The IOM is advocating for humanitarians access to those in need to help and in working with regional government to help those who want to return home. Now, in our next story for the day, Eritrean leader arrives in Ethiopia to boot ties. Ethiopia-Eritrea resumed relations in 2018 after 2 decades of hostilities soon after secession of Eritrea from Ethiopia. Ethiopian President Isaias Afwerki arrived in Ethiopia for a 3-day visit on Monday. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was at Jimma Airport to welcome his Eritrean counterpart as the latter landed in Jimma, a city filled with history and is rich in natural resources, including coffee and honey. The president is accompanied by Foreign Minister Osman Salah and Presidential Advisor Yemane Gebre. Local broadcaster Fana quoted Yemane Gebre Mesker, Eritrea's information ministers, are saying. The leaders of the two countries would hold extensive consultations on further enhancement of bilateral ties as well as the consolidation of regional cooperation, Gebre Mesker added. In 2018, the two countries managed to end a 2-decade-long hostilities following the olive branch extended by Abiy. That successful gesture, together with other efforts to bring about regional peace and cooperation, earned the Ethiopian premier the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize. The two countries in 2019 signed a comprehensive cooperation pact in which they agreed to cooperate in numerous fields, but little came out in terms of the implementation of the agreement. That included the clause that allows Ethiopia to use the ports of Assab and Massawa. Eritrea seceded from Ethiopia in 1993, following a 3-decade-long war for independence. The two countries fought a deadly war between 1998 and 2000, in which an estimated 70,000 people died of both sides. Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki arrived in Ethiopia for a 3-day official visit. This is where we end today's episode of African News. Please like, share, comment, let us know your thoughts on this particular episode. If you have any questions or any input you want to make, kindly make it in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. After doing that, make sure you hit the like button and the notification button so you'll be notified anytime we make a post. You can also visit our blog www.alenamediatv.org and you will find a lot of new content over there. My name is Elsa Abraham. Thanks for watching.